Aine has been a member of the prep community since 6th grade. Since then, Aine has distinguished herself in numerous ways. Academically, she is a high honors student, and she's also highly involved in the prep community. She's an NHS member, student council vice president, a leader in FCS, and she is also your homecoming queen. When I think of Aine, I think of a kind, humble leader who always has a positive attitude and a wide smile on her face. And I also think of someone who is fast, like really fast. Along with playing 3 years of varsity soccer, Aine has been an outstanding in her 5 years of varsity cross country and track. She's been all state, all region since 8th grade. She's been an individual state champion cross country runner for the past 3 years, and she holds the school record in the 5K with an incredible time of 18:53. Today, along with dear family friends, we are joined by her mother Megan and her father Charles, as well as her grandparents Chippy and Winnie. We are also joined by her sisters and fellow prep students, Callan and Tabby, and her brother Hayes, who graduated from prep last year, joins us virtually. Please welcome Aine to the stage.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan, for that wonderful introduction and for being such an amazing advisor for these past 2 years. And also shout out to Mr. Harbin for being such a great sophomore advisor. To my friends in the class of 2024, thank you for all the memories over the past 4 years and longer. You've all found a way to make every day fun, and I'm so grateful for that. To my family, thank you Hayes, Callan, and Abby for being my best friends and biggest supporters. I'm so grateful that we got to experience Camino together and love all the memories that we made that we still talk about all the time. Finally, to my parents, thank you for everything that you do for our family. It is not always easy, but you do it all so well. So thank you for all your love, support, and guidance every step of the way. A pilgrimage is a journey often undertaken for a religious motive to a foreign or unknown place, where a person goes in search of new or expanded meaning about themselves, others, or nature to transform their life. A person who makes this journey is called a pilgrim, and although some pilgrims wander aimlessly with no fixed destination, they more commonly seek a specific place marked by holy or divine importance. Pilgrimages are a shared concept by many religions around the world and are usually tied to important locations of the birth or death of saints or founders. For example, the focus of the pilgrimage of many of the Abrahamic faiths, which are Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, are holy lands. Christian pilgrimages were first made to sites connected with the birth, life, crucifixion, and resurrection of Jesus, and also with other sites associated with the apostles, saints, and Christian martyrs. In Judaism, all adult men who were able to were required to visit Solomon's temple for the 3 pilgrimage festivals of Passover. For Islam, the Hajj, the main pilgrimage to Mecca, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and must be carried out by all adult Muslims capable at least once in their lifetime. In Buddhism, there are 4 places of pilgrimage tied to the life of Gautama Buddha in India and Nepal. In Hinduism, places of pilgrimage are associated with legendary events from the lives of various gods, often taken to sacred cities, rivers, lakes, and mountains. Today, I will be focusing on the Christian pilgrimage El Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James, which represents a pilgrimage to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in northwestern Spain. St. James, or Santiago in Spanish, was one of Jesus' 12 apostles. After the crucifixion of Jesus, he stayed in Jerusalem to be the head of a church and then went on to evangelize Spain. He was then the first disciple to be martyred when he was beheaded by order of King Herod. His body was then transferred by his disciples from Jerusalem to Spain along the coast of Spain, and he was buried in Compostela. The journey of his disciples is known as the spiritual way of the Portuguese Camino. The pilgrimage of Santiago de Compostela peaked between the 11th and 13th centuries of the Middle Ages. This was because, prior to the year 1000, religious Europeans believed that the second coming of Christ was imminent, so many people set out on holy pilgrimages as an act of gratitude that the second coming of Christ had not arrived yet, and also to ensure salvation when the day did come, because it was believed that embarking on a pilgrimage would purify the soul. One major motivation for pilgrims of the Middle Ages was the viewing of relics. Relics are religious objects usually connected to a saint or other venerated person. Some examples of famous relics could be the body part of a saint, a cloth worn by the Virgin Mary, a true piece of the cross that Jesus was crucified on, or the crown of thorns that Jesus wore. Relics are often housed in a reliquary, which is a protective container adorned with precious metals and gemstones. Pilgrimage churches along the Camino house these relics. This motivation of pilgrims to visit these churches and see as many relics as possible became known as the cult of the relic and was at its highest during the Romanesque period. Seeing these relics was very important to pilgrims' faith and journey and connection to God, and these relics were one of the things that fascinated me most about Camino. Being able to experience and see some of the physical ways that Jesus was present on this earth just seemed like the coolest thing to me, and I just felt so compelled to one day experience that connection and his presence through those relics and this journey. The final destination of the Camino de Santiago is the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela. This iconic symbol of the city of Santiago began its construction in 1075 and was completed in 1211. It was constructed with Romanesque essence and Gothic and Baroque touches. The cathedral houses the tomb of the Apostle St. James in a crypt beneath the main altar. To this day, the Camino is a remarkable pilgrimage that acts as a vibrant hub for cultural exchange and bringing people from all over the world together. There are many different variations and routes, each consisting of their own history and heritage, all leading pilgrims to the city of Santiago de Compostela. The Camino Trail itself is very well marked with the symbol of the scalloped shell and Camino markings like yellow arrows painted everywhere. The scalloped shell is a symbol of St. James because the grooves of the shell represent the many roads of the pilgrimage. Many pilgrims travel with these scalloped shells, like the ones my family got in Arcade and tied onto our backpacks. Finally, the Camino is a backpacking experience in which you have to pack everything you will need and carry it on your back throughout the journey. Like I said earlier, there are many different routes of the Camino. Here are the 4 most popular routes. The Camino Frances is the most famous route and has been featured in movies like The Way and The Pilgrimage. The whole thing is 800 kilometers long and takes about 5 weeks to complete, but you can start at any part of the route. It is considered the most social Camino, and you'll be able to experience local food and culture along the way. The Camino del Norte, also known as the Northern Way, begins in the seaside city of San Sebastian, known for its renowned culinary experience. This Camino is along the coastal villages and towns of Green Spain, crossing the Basque Country, Cantabria, and Asturias before bringing pilgrims inward towards Santiago. The Camino Primitivo is the oldest of the Camino routes and also known as the original way. It starts in Oviedo in northeastern Spain and takes pilgrims 311 kilometers to reach Santiago. For this route, there is also an option to walk just the last 100 kilometers. Finally, the Camino Portuguese Coastal is the second most popular route. This was the traditional trail to Santiago de Compostela taken by Portuguese pilgrims. It is a beautiful walk along the coastline north of Porto in Portugal and into Spain, traveling along fishing towns. A popular route to take is to start in Vigo and walk the last 100 kilometers of the Portuguese route, and this is also the route that my family took. I would now like to take some time to share my personal experience and journey on the Camino with my family. The Camino route that my family took was the last 100 kilometers of the Portuguese coastal route, and we spent 7 days on Camino over last year's spring break. Because hostels were not ideal for a family of 6, we stayed in homes along the Camino Trail, and this really added to our experience of exploring Spain and our time spent together as a family. To prepare for our Camino, we got plenty of gear, including hiking backpacks equipped with hydration bladders, new walking shoes, and clothing to ensure we were prepared for any weather. We also took some time to familiarize ourselves with some Spanish, as none of my siblings, except for Tabby, took Spanish. My dad, on the other hand, diligently studied his Spanish on Duolingo every night, which came in handy as he was able to communicate best when interacting with others, which also led to the creation of his nickname, Gomez. We began our Camino on April 4th in Porto, Portugal, walking through Vigo and amongst nature and rural towns, and then crossing the bridge of Ponte Sampaio into Arcade. We ended the first night of our Camino enjoying a dinner outside overlooking the pastures and vineyards of Arcade. Day 2 of our Camino included breakfast from a local patisserie in Arcade, the busy city of Pontevedra, the farms and vineyards of Pollo, and seeing the Hospederia Monasterio, before we reached our destination for the day, Cenexo. Day 3 of our Camino was the most scenic day as we walked through the city of Cambados, crossed an old stone bridge into the countryside, and then walked beside the beautiful blue water and beaches as we approached Villanova de Arousa. For day 4 of our Camino, we took a ferry to Pontesquires, saw the 12 crosses of St. James along the way, crossed the bridge to Pontesquires, and finally entered the city of Padrón, where we spent that night and enjoyed another nice dinner outside. We spent the next day in Padrón as well. We explored the city and stopped in to visit a beautiful pilgrimage church and various chapels to stamp our pilgrimage passports. I loved our time in Padrón because of its simplicity and because it reminded me so much of home, and I hope to visit again one day. The next morning, we set out on our final day of Camino as we walked through the forest of Ames into Tea Aragela and then entered the busy city of Santiago. As we neared the cathedral, we could see its spire piercing into the sky amongst the other buildings of the city. At last, we finally reached the cathedral. Seeing the beautiful, intricate architecture of this massive cathedral was surreal and unlike anything I had ever seen before. We got to go inside the renovated portion of the cathedral and see all the salvaged original stonework and art on display. We also got to go up to the second level, or the triforium of the cathedral, seeing more of the beautiful architecture and design, and finally, we got to see the crypt that houses the tomb of St. James himself. We spent that evening venturing into the city of Santiago and enjoyed our final dinner of the trip together and got to experience the nightlife in Spain, concluding our Camino. People go on Caminos for many different reasons. For some, the pilgrimage of Santiago de Compostela is an expression of Christian devotion, but in today's day, a pilgrimage does not necessarily have to be devotional. It can also be a reason to travel and see the beautiful landscape of Portugal and the Spanish northern coast. Some people see the Camino as a great exercise challenge and a fitness journey. Some people go to experience the history and culture as you get to explore the various churches, architecture, monuments, and landmarks along the trail. My family went on Camino for a combination of these reasons. It was a spiritual journey, an opportunity for us to strengthen our faith together. It was also our first international trip as a family and an opportunity to explore a new place together. I also view it as a time of togetherness before one of the biggest changes that we've ever experienced as a family, which is Hayes going off to college. For me personally, when I first learned about the Camino de Santiago sophomore year in my AP Art History class, I was drawn to the idea of getting to walk the same trails and embark on the same journey that people took so long ago to deepen their connection to God and pursue their faith. My Camino was a spiritual journey as well as a time of bonding as I walked along the coast of Spain with my siblings, having conversations and making memories that we will never forget and still talk about all the time. We were learners as we got to experience a new and slower way of life. We got to take a break from the distractions of our busy everyday lives and just enjoy each other's presence. I hope the Camino can inspire you to find your pilgrimage. Find a new place you want to explore and open your heart and mind to the things you can learn about yourself. Grow your faith, grow your mindset, challenge your body, meet new people, and allow that to change your life.